Good afternoon. I'm Caleb from Caleb's Aviation, and I've come all the way down to Atlanta, Georgia to check out the Delta Airlines Flight Museum right next to the Atlanta airport, which is really interesting, and it's super loud and very big. Here, we're going to go check them out, explore the museum, and see what's going on. Should be pretty awesome. Join me for this video. If you know me, you know I'm a fan of Delta Airlines. I've flown almost every aircraft in their fleet, and I intend to keep working toward this goal. With Delta, I've gone all over the world, across the country as well. As I'm based in Detroit, which is one of their primary hubs, I get to fly Delta quite a lot. However, I've always wanted to come down to Atlanta, Georgia, and take a visit to the Delta Flight Museum, and well, that's exactly what we're doing today. Join me for this video. This is the DC-3. First one they ever flew. Immediately next to this Douglas DC-3 was one of my favorite engines, a Pratt & Whitney Jr. Wasp, equipped with a 3-blade Hamilton Standard propeller, both of which were manufactured in Connecticut. Connecticut also has several excellent aviation museums that I intend to visit someday. I saw a real DC-3 like this in person a couple weeks ago at Aviation Day in Jackson. I'll leave that video link up above. This section of the museum is reserved for Delta employees who carry out the Delta difference in their job every day. This means they go above and beyond what is required of them by their job at Delta Airlines. I certainly know a lot of crews at Delta who should definitely be on this wall. And this is C.E. Woolman, the founder of Delta. What I call a model. DC-7s, Fry's, Convair 880. Now that was a very fast airplane. There's a cockpit for the 880 out in the main area that we'll see in a minute. Oh, and look at that, back there we got all the stuff, the 727s, the Northwest 747s, another Northwest 747, Delta, Alitalia, Northwest Cargo 747-200. That's a special one right there. I saw that one out in the desert out in Arizona that's being scrapped and carted out. Make sure you check out These are huge. Oh, and this Pan Am one's got the cutaway section. And of course, the Delta 747-400. Picture of that a couple weeks ago. There's the KLM Northwest DC-10 with the cross livery, which is a really cool one, and there's the other side of it. It's such a cool image. It's really interesting. We got more MD-11s back there, my CRJ-200 back there. My friend Jeb Brooks just loves the CRJ-200. Section of the museum was all about Northwest Orient Airlines, which became Northwest. Remember them?
Give wings to your heart, your spirit soar. Fly the best when you fly Northwest, Northwest Orient Airlines.
If you didn't like Northwest Airlines, I'm sorry, but I just had to put in that classic piece of history. This museum is just so amazing. I just can't tell you how much I've looked forward to coming here someday and checking it out. It's an incredible place. This tunnel was also pretty cool, as it looked like you were going straight into an aircraft engine. Oh yeah! This was a Delta Boeing 767-200 named the Spirit of Delta, and it was the first ever Boeing 767 Delta flew. It has an incredible story. The 767-200 was the first and smallest variant of the 767 program, and even this 767-200 was pretty big. I've never flown on a 767, so maybe someday I'll do that. I was simply just amazed by how big this 767 was. I could barely fit underneath it. But I think the best thing about this 767 are those classic General Electric CF6 turbofans. This is the Convair 880, a really fast airliner.
There's been a lot of talk about speed, but there can only be one fastest jetliner, only one speed champion. On its delivery flight, Delta's first Convair 880 became that champion, setting an ocean-to-ocean transcontinental record with an average speed of 665 miles per hour.
The Convair 880 was a really special plane, especially for Delta Airlines, who had quite a large fleet of them at their peak. The only one faster was the Convair 990, which was a really niche airplane, which almost never sold. And of course, we have the old Delta Airlines A330 business class, which I was on when I did the behind-the-scenes Inside Airports video at Detroit Metro. Make sure you check that out, as I checked out this entire seat and the entire fleet of A330s and A350s on board. This was the really old business class cabin. And of course, over here we have more vintage stuff from Delta Airlines history, like Sky Club stuff. However, I think my favorite thing here had to be these classic posters and images of the Delta 747-400. I'm so sad it's gone now. Computers are so funny. The old vintage computers. This stuff is well before I was around. 757 cockpit, which of course I've been on as well. This piece of art, I guess it is made by Chick-Fil-A. But let's head upstairs and check out that 767. Here's the top of that beautiful Boeing 767. It's a pretty good view, pretty high up. Hey, while we're up here and looking at this 767, this is your reminder to subscribe. I have lots more videos like this going around aviation museums, flying on airlines such as Delta, checking out different airports and how they function worldwide in my series Inside Airports. And it's all pretty cool, and I have lots more videos coming. Subscribe, turn on the notifications, keep an eye out for that sort of stuff. Anyway, let's get back to the museum. This area is closed off for private events sometimes. This is from the front of an old Lockheed L-1011 TriStar, which is a really amazing aircraft. I'll put a link to a video about it below that I absolutely love. The L-1011 TriStar was, and still is, such a great-looking aircraft. I especially love tri-jets like the L-1011 and its competitor, the DC-10 MD-11 program. Let's head on that jet bridge. Keep an eye out on my channel pretty soon for an upcoming video on board this 767, where we will explore it in much more detail, including a lot more of the history and things I don't have time to get into in this video. There's the cockpit on this 767. The cockpit on this 767 was so amazing to me to see, especially with all the old gauges and flight engineer panels. The jobs of those old steam gauges and of the flight engineer have been entirely replaced by computer systems and computer screens nowadays. It was definitely weird to get on a plane that's not going anywhere, but it was still super interesting. Let's head back downstairs and maybe try to head outside. This was the cockpit off one of those Convair 880s, and to compare, that big panel on the right-hand side was used for the flight engineer, which is no longer required on modern airplanes. This is the Douglas DC-9. A really amazing aircraft. This one was owned by Northwest Airlines. This one specifically is a DC-950. The DC-9s first flew in the 1960s, and they're still flying in some areas around the world, such as the MD-80s and MD-90s. The Delta just retired and all went for scrapping, sadly. These also still fly in some form in the Boeing 717, or the McDonnell Douglas MD-95. They mainly fly them in Australia and here with Delta Airlines in the United States. My friend Paul Stewart recently flew on one of those 717s for a Qantas link, and I'll put a video link to that up above if you're interested. Make sure to check it out. And Paul, if you're watching this video, give me a like, leave a comment. I'd really appreciate it. To my favorite airplane, the Boeing 747. This Boeing 747 was the very first ever 747-400 ever built and sold to Northwest Airlines. This was also Northwest Airlines Flight 85 that had to divert to Anchorage, Alaska when flying from Detroit to Tokyo because its rudder got jammed and it couldn't steer effectively. It's a really interesting story, and I'll leave a link down in the description if you want to read more about it. Keep an eye out, as I'll be flying on a 747-400 this winter with Lufthansa. Keep an eye out on my channel pretty soon for an upcoming video on board this 767, where we will explore it in much more detail. This is unbelievable. I am literally underneath the Boeing 747-400. And honestly, I'm surprised it's still pretty tall. I can't touch it if I try. They're so huge. 747-400. Anyway, that's gonna be it for this video. As always, wishing you blue skies and tailwinds.